Well, welcome. This is the Sports Day Dallas Cowboys coverage team. I'm David Moore. This is Calvin Watkins, and this is Michael Gehlken.
Hi.
This is the Sunday, the first off day of this training camp. Start pads on Monday. So let's talk about, Calvin, just overall, your impressions. We'll talk more about the players in a second, but just your overall impressions. Anything stand out this week from the opening press conference or personnel moves they made or are trying to make?
Everything is positive around here. I mean, nobody's done anything bad.
You've always been a positive guy.
I've always been a positive guy, yes. You know, they're positive about Kelvin Joseph, they're positive about Tristan Hill, they're positive about Dak Prescott. Jerry Jones is positive. In the opening press conference, he says, Mike McCarthy is my guy. You know, Dak Prescott even said, Mike's my man. So everything is great here in Oxnard, California. The Cowboys will probably go 17-0, win the Super Bowl, and that's how Jerry Jones would love it. But I will say,
but you can't say all that in there.
No, but I will say, I do like the chemistry that this coaching staff has, and that's something we don't talk about enough. It is a diverse coaching staff, not a lot of turnover, but the two main guys that they kept, Kellen Moore and Dan Quinn, it's a positive thing so far.
What about you, Michael? What stands out?
A lot of negativity here in Oxnard. No, I would agree, and I think to your point, there is really a lot to be positive about. There hasn't been any injuries aside from the shoulder injury to Matt Walesko, and typically this ramp-up period, which the Cowboys have experienced thus far in camp, is all about avoiding those, those soft tissue injuries, which kind of plagued them last year, where they had a conditioning test, and Chauncey Golston was out for all of training camp with a hamstring. So they've been able to avoid most of that to this stage, and so yeah, I think the competition we're starting to see take place, and now with the pads coming on, the competition is really going to go off to another level.
You're both glass half full kind of guys, aren't you? My gosh, no questions here about this team going in.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting with pads going on tomorrow. I still think that the biggest thing they have to settle coming out of this training camp is what the offensive line is going to look like. And it's not just the starters, it's the depth too. There's not a lot of proven depth behind them. As Michael mentioned, Walesko, their 5th round pick, has a shoulder issue. It's questionable whether he'll be able to do much, if anything, in this camp. So they really need to sort out the left guard spot. I think there's a bit of a competition at center as well, and then who the backups are going to be. I know a lot of people are concerned about wide receiver with the trade of Amari Cooper and losing Cedric Wilson. That's the other place I think where you keep your attention to, but I just think you can compensate for that, and sometimes it just means the playmakers, you get the ball to more who you have because you have fewer of them. And I think sometimes last year with the offense, we saw, Kellen Moore get away from that a little bit.
Oh yeah, no question. When we did the training camp primer, and I had an item in there, what's the position that I'm most worried about? It's wide receiver. And yes, they have CeeDee Lamb, but we'll find out, can he be elevated to the #1 guy and respond? But everybody else, they're a bunch of guys. And yeah, they got a draft pick in Jalen Tolbert, and we like him. TJ Vasher, in his second year, he's at a Texas Tech. He showed us a little something the first couple of days in camp, but there's unknowns there.
Michael, anything to add on that?
No, I agree. I'm ready to talk players.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay, go.
Well, I think
who's jumped out at you here this first week?
Well, I think you're looking for the surprises, because if Micah Parsons looks excellent, okay, that doesn't really move the needle. If DeMarcus Lawrence or so forth look impressive, okay, but what am I learning about this football team? I'm learning that going into camp, I thought, okay, there's probably at least one undrafted rookie that makes this team in terms of Marquise Bell out of Florida A&M. But I think Peyton Hendershot, tight end. I think Deron Bland, a corner out of Fresno. Without batting an eye, 3+ undrafted rookies, certainly multiple undrafted rookies are making this team. With Marquise Bell leading there on the outset of that list, there's no more writing his name down in pencil for the 53-man roster on August 30th. You can go ahead and jot that down in a Sharpie.
That's it. So write it down with a Sharpie, and we'll be back and talk to you again next week, maybe?
Maybe.
This is what I like to do on my off days.